So, one of the last conversations that I had with my dad was about why I wanted to go on a dig on archaeology. I know what middens are. It's basically a dump site. Sometimes you might find something in a midden that shouldn't be there. Other than discarded fish bones, other types of material waste. Dug down deep enough to find out how they used shale rock as like a fridge type thing in the ground. Certain sections of the Barabra, one side would be for taking a sweat, other parts sleeping, other parts to do some type of materials creating, making hooks, weaving baskets, making clothes. I didn't have an answer for him when he asked me that. He said all that stuff is in the past. Look to the future. I mean, in some aspects, he was sort of right, but as long as the way I'm gonna be treated, I'm never gonna have backup. Because everything revolves around money. And I'm not talking about just money as the root of all evil from a religious viewpoint. Everything revolves around money. And I wanted to really learn how to be self-sufficient, living off the land and water on my home islands, close by my home village. One of the things I was getting into learning was how to make a badarka. They have 2-seaters, and I believe sometimes 3-seaters. It's basically a 2-seater kayak, 3-seater kayak, or a 1-seater kayak. They call them a badarka. I believe everything that they were using for rain gear was animal intestines. I think probably even the bladder. and they're using it for the frame of the Badarka. And to keep those maintained, you had to keep hunting, animals for all that shit. See, my cousin, he's a Native American arts craftsman, and the stuff he was learning, it most of it, what he was doing was for show and being a teacher. I was actually wanting to get out there and live the experience instead of just making up a hat, with certain things on it. Your hat was your status. Had all designs on it. Animals that you may have fought and had to kill, or that you barely survived. That's what my cousin was into. Being a show off. He was good at his artwork. I don't hate on him for that. I am just saying he was a show off, but he did take the time to learn how to cut and carve. He made dream catchers, two hoop dream catchers. It just I don't mean a smaller ring hoop inside of another dream catcher. I mean like when you put it down, it looks like an X. But yeah, I mean it just part of the other reason why nobody else really wanted to do that is because of the dangers. Because there's bears around. I did pick out a couple of spots, to make my own barabra. But my dad's corporation sold off a lot of their land, and they're probably gonna have to do it again if they have another greedy president and council. Yeah, part of that land now is National Wildlife Refuge. So basically, any non-natives can go out there and have fun on that land. I mean, destroy anything they find that should be considered an artifact, a piece of history, and just wipe it off the face of this earth. there was a few places that, after I went and did the dig, I started looking for certain ways how the land was should be natural and how it was developed. The differences between, the natural of it and how there might be depressions. And sure enough, I'd go spend enough time when I had it, I'd go dig out in those spots. And I'd find a midden and I'd find something close by, like a barabra, it just be. I didn't keep digging because I didn't have permission from my dad's corporation to actually keep digging. I try to mention to them, hey man, go tell your corporation about this. Try and get funding for it and get everything up out of the ground, and transfer it to some place like a museum. But the point at my grandpa's fish camp, which is now my uncle's, there's a nice incline hill. There's quite a few whale bones there. And I asked my grandpa, he says, those been there for a long time. It's when we used to hunt whale. He was a toddler the last time he saw his people hunting whale. That's how far his people drifted. I also learned the type of roots and wild celery, salmon berries that you could find to eat. I didn't eat cod, and it's not because I didn't want to, it's because nobody knew how to fillet them except cannery workers. And that was part of the other reason why I took up a cannery job. I wanted to be in the filleting section, gutting section. I didn't like being in the part where they're fucking doing all the heavy ass work because that's not what I wanted to learn, was to be a workhorse. But yeah, the only thing I got to learn how to do is actually efficiently fillet salmon more, gut them better. And that was it. I mean, I enjoyed filleting halibut, gutting that. When they put in a sewer system in my home village, the bay that used to have a lot of salmon running around in it that ended. A lot of the sea life where that sewer pipe ran right through the small bay of my home village. The only things that were still surviving there were sponges and eels. But yeah, my grandma, she also talked about when she was younger, before she was a midwife, her and the females would take a net and wade the bay, and that's how they'd pull in salmon right there. And that was before they put in a sewer system. And this must have been like when she was in her late teens, early 20s. I believe she passed on this year or last year, I don't know.